58.
including
Right,
us. Yeah.
tell your class to join in fast. Is Ashwini here? She's not joined in yet.
Ashwini was in the last group. I don't know. पिछली वाले मीटिंग में थी वो.
तेरे साथ थी?
हाँ, वो वाली पिछली मीटिंग में we were in this कैलेंडर वाला मीटिंग अंकुश ने जो शुरू किया था.
हाँ.
Yeah, people are leaving that group. There's only 3 people left.
Chalo, there's 73. You want to start?
Yep. Tell me. I'm ready.
Yeah, I think we can start.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay, can everybody see?
Yeah.
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So the first lecture for this subject is going to be on history of toilets and baths. Now this is like an endless debate of where was the first toilet or bath constructed. So I'm not really going to get into this argument, but there are some known facts, and as things keep getting discovered, we will see that that information keeps changing over a period in time. But as far as the current information goes, the first recorded public sanitation system is with the Indus Valley civilization. So as you can see, and I'm sure you've studied in history or read about it, that this was one of the first urban city centers with kind of a public sanitation and sewer system. And this is the photograph of the Great Bath, a public bath, and you can see channels on the photographs on the right hand side. Now the idea of public sanitation and sewer system is very important in recorded urban history because that kind of gives you insight into way people lived, the kind of technological advancement that was there, health and well-being of people belonging to that period. The other recorded history also goes about, the Romans having very technologically advanced water carrying system, as well as sanitation and sewer systems. What is interesting is that you start seeing for the first time public toilets. All right. So this is from a Roman site where you see you have this big platform with holes created in it. All along a ledge, or all along one single edge, where you would have people sitting one besides the other. So at that point in time, the use of toilet was not something that was a taboo like today it is. For the longest time in history, it's not considered a good topic of discussion. There's a lot of kind of misconceptions that are associated with toilet hygiene, but that was not the case during these periods in history. So you essentially have, what is very interesting is you have a hole on the platform where you would essentially sit, and the hole that you see in the vertical is where you would either use it depended on your economical status. So if you were rich, you would essentially use a soft sponge or wool to clean yourself. And you would see that the stream that is there, the channel that you see in front, is essentially where the water was there. So you would then wash away the wool or the sponge within that. So the vertical hole is where you would pass your something attached to a handle, like how you have those loofahs with handle nowadays to clean yourselves, something like that. There's a lot of history associated with Roman baths, because the Roman occupancy is kind of territorial. Geographically, it was very huge and large, and also it covered a large span. So there will be, whenever you talk about Roman baths, there's a lot of other activities that start getting associated with it. There are beautiful mosaics and paintings that you've seen depicting this kind of Roman life. So it wasn't just a place where you would, essentially go for bathing, but there was an entire ritual that was associated with personal hygiene. So you would go to public baths where you would start with some sort of activity, to kind of break a sweat. You would then go from one room to the other room. You would go for a cold bath first, then you will go for a hot bath. You will go for steam, into a steam room or a sauna. And there was a lot of the idea of well-being essentially associated, or health on a larger holistic scale associated with these baths. People would gather around. Of course, you would have baths that were available for various social statures. There were different areas for gents and ladies, and in the areas where gents would gather, there would be discussions right from politics to business. With women, it would be about everyday life, fashion. A lot of social life happened in and around these Roman baths. And obviously, they were very grand establishments. As you can see, this is a painting of Diocletian bath that is in Rome. Hugely enormous baths. It was as big as making an amphitheater in that period in time. So where the Caesar would create an amphitheater to kind of distract people from the ongoing politics. Baths was something that was again expected out of the kind of from the political regime to kind of give to the public back. And they used to be elaborate structures, of course, because you needed those large public spaces. This is what the Diocletian bath looks like today. So it's like you can see, it's an enormous structure, beautifully decorated with lots of embellishments and lots of detailings. And some of them still all around Europe and West Asia. Some of these baths still are, public baths are still well within their social lives of the people. This is another example of Bath in UK. So the city of Bath essentially was named after the fact that there were Roman baths there, and a lot of them have now been converted into adaptively reused into other activities. But I mean, you no longer can bathe in them, but they are still available for public consumption. So activities, still public activities go around in and around these areas. But as you can see, it was a place for a large public gathering space. Like in today's day and age, how we would have say a park or a garden in India. That is the kind of position within the urban life these baths had. These are some of the photographs of excavations of how exactly these baths were, and they were like very elaborate systems, of course, of water supply as well as drainage, and how you would have heated water going around throughout the floor of these baths that would then be filtered into the main pit of the bathing area, or to provide steam and sauna into certain other sections of the rooms. And then how elaborately they would have been decorated is something that we saw in the Diocletian bath. Now we move from, so we went from Indus Valley to Roman period occupancy, and then we come into what is known as the Dark Ages. Well, it was a Dark Ages for a lot of various aspects in life, and one of them also being health and sanitation. So this was a time where you started having, you started seeing a lot of these medieval kind of castles coming into play, even in India as well as in Europe. And apparently public health and sanitation was something that was not completely relegated to something that was not important. So you start, these are a few sections of how toilets were still a part of the daily life, and how would it essentially mean sitting the same way as the Romans toilets that we saw, but it would essentially fall into a ditch, and that would be the end of it. So you would, if you had, of course, the richer ones would have had a separate compartment for toilets, but the poorer ones would either just do it in a like a bowl and then just throw it off onto the streets, or if there was a water channel nearby. So there was a lot of filth and unhygienic conditions during medieval times. So these are some of the sections. So in Europe, they are known as garderobes. So essentially, what you see here is like something protruding out of the main wall of the castle, which was of course later additions, because earlier you would have had chamber pots. So chamber pot is essentially mostly a ceramic or a metal pot where you would pee or poop, and then if you have a servant, that servant would go and dispose it outside, or if it was a lower income group, they would dispose it themselves. But as you started having these privies within the medieval castles, then of course what they would do is essentially you would sit on a wooden a platform like that with a hole in it, that would essentially drop through the garderobe and out into the open all along the walls. You could see it in India. You could see it in the Jaisalmer fort. Of course, now there were modern sewage systems, which were then it was connected with, but earlier this was the way, in medieval times, this was the way how they would be disposed. So there used to be like a joke that would go around, you would see a lot of it in English literature and European literature, where you don't walk below a garderobe, because that essentially means that poop or pee is going to fall over your head. So this is essentially, so see, these are all kinds of additions, later interventions that have been done, as and when each of these rooms would require a privy. And essentially what it would mean is, like if you would have a higher class people would then have this pit kind of cleaned, and if it belonged to a commoner, it would just go and throw it on the street. The idea of showing this image was, though we associate the habit of going to toilet something that's very basic and not important, it does require a lot of design engineering. I mean, this is to somebody it looks like a simple toilet seat, but look at the amount of detailing that has gone, or the thought behind creating that. So the idea of the ergonomics of the seat, to the fact that it might belong to somebody who's of a higher class, because you have the high back chair. You would have a candle stand, if you see right next to it. There is a cup holder. There is a candle and a water jar at the bottom for to use for washing after you've done your business to wash up. The decorated ceramic bowl that is kind of removable. So once you lift up the seat, you can remove that ceramic bowl and kind of use it for disposal. So the amount of detailing that went into it, even though it started with just maybe in primitive time would have been a ditch in the floor somewhere, a small ditch started with a hole in the floor or something like that. It kind of started becoming more and more elaborate in terms of detail and design. What we see today, or the modern toilet, essentially is something that we start with the first flush toilet prototype that was created around in 1596. This was by John Harrington. He was the nephew of the reigning monarch. But however, it did not catch on really well, because this was just an idea and a prototype essentially. So he had come up with an idea of joining a cistern with a waste pipe that would then flush down, all the remnants of your use. So the first patented water closet came around in 1775 by Alexander Cumming, and this is the first use of the S-trap that we see, that essentially kept, the foul gases out of the toilet use as well. This is a very famous person, because this is the term that we use, when we say we are going to the toilet, we are saying we also call it doing a crap. So this is the term where it came from, because Thomas Crapper had kind of established one of the largest companies with around 6 patents on water closet and improvements that were there. So that is where the term taking a crap kind of comes from. So as you can see, these are certain pamphlets and brochures that were there for people to kind of buy. So the technology, how it advanced to, if you can see one on the right hand bottom says an anti-freezing low down closet, because in in European countries and in Americas, you had to think about what happens when during winters the water freezes. And if you see the elaborate detail that has on the closet, the water closet itself, and the amount of engineering that it required at that point in time was quite commendable, with the kind of designs that you see here in this brochure. Now, what is interesting is, still up till now, I mean, of course, during the Roman times we had seen, and during Indus Valley we had seen the whole idea of public sanitation and public toilets. But post that, there was no real there's no recorded history of any public toilets. But the first public toilet was during the Great Exhibition in 1851 in London, and that was only a prototype actually created for this specific exhibition, because there was a huge gathering of people that had come to see the exhibition. However, they were only for men really, and not for the use of women. In 1857, Joseph Cavity invented a toilet paper in USA. And again, like I mentioned earlier, along with the fact that, the whole engineering of water closets kind of evolved, there was a whole lot of accessories that went around. So this is just to draw your attention to the amount of attention that is paid to the kind of accessories that are required, to detailing, and this kind of how one industry starts supporting another form of industry, So one innovation will lead to a whole lot of other set of innovations that we currently use today, which we find quite trivial in that sense. Of course, with public toilets came the whole idea of being able to lock the door, because it's no longer a facility that you're using within your rooms or within your house. So the first engaged locks for toilets came about in 1883. And the first coin registering locks came around in around 1892. So, today where we use toilets at railway stations or at other public facilities, where you come out and you pay, or you pay before you go in, there were actually locks that were that could accept coins and would let you in the toilet areas. Now, for us, we think, toilets it's no big deal, right? It's something that we use on a daily basis. Like I mentioned, very, very trivial. I mean, according to us, it's everywhere available for our use. But with toilet comes in a lot of social discrimination. Right from the fact of economical class, came in the idea of racial discrimination, right? So where you would have white and colored. We've had a colonial history, so we know that there were a lot of establishments that would not allow Indians for a very long time within those places. Of course, toilets were meant to be different for white and the locals. Then we are talking about just gender discrimination. So the latest being the idea of what toilets is a transgender supposed to use. For example, can they use the gents toilet, or can they use the women's toilet, or do they not have a place where, or do we need a specific toilet? Of course, then we've all seen how rail industry kind of advanced in India, and we all understand the fact of how you had second class compartment waiting room toilets and first class waiting room toilets and all of that. So this idea, or the issue of toilets or the use of public toilets is not really that simple, because it does have a lot of not just the idea of taboo, something that you don't discuss out in the open, would not like to talk about. There's a lot of idea of discrimination associated with it throughout history, not just in today's time, but for a very long period in time, actually. So for the longest period in time, like I mentioned in that great exhibition, it started with men's public toilet. These are a couple of examples of men's public toilet where, okay, so women did not have public toilets at that point in time. I'm talking about during the Victorian period onwards. There's a term for it. It was known as a urinary leash. The idea behind it being that since there are no public conveniences available for women, that means that they don't step out of the house that very often, or they cannot travel for a very long distance. And if they are really stepping out, they are stepping out to houses or establishments of friends or families where public convenience facilities are available to them, because at that point in time it was not considered very appropriate for women to travel outside or very far away unescorted. That was the idea of women, and also the fact that it was considered a virtue to be able to hold for the longest. So of course women were, however further they could travel, while they could control their urge to use a bathroom, or the fact that if nothing was available, then they can only travel for that much distance. That was the idea. But it's always been that the idea of a public convenience, even if for gents, the idea of showing this image was that it's not just meant to be used to pee or poo, but the idea is that you had other facilities that were associated with it, because that's the kind of social life that revolved around the one that we were talking about right from the idea of baths during Indus Valley or the Roman civilization, but how you would have other activities where it almost became like a salon. So the current word that we use for a women's parlor, that we call it a salon, the idea came in where you would sit around and have a discussion, have a cup of tea. It was a space where people from outside would come and talk to you. So you had salons at home as well. It was kind of a special room for ladies, essentially. But the idea of that term being applied to a women's salon, where you go for hairdressing and for other beauty procedures, kind of came in from this idea of where women could gather around and have a discussion. The same also applies to gents as well. So you see a lot of other smaller activities that would be associated around a gentleman's lavatory or a ladies' salon. So just to give you an idea of why I'm saying this is such a big problem is, if you read certain of these captions on the screen, it says nearly 950 million people practice open defecation around the world, and 569 million of them live in India. Now that's a huge, staggering amount that we are talking about. Okay, that's not a small figure, and statistics say that poor sanitation kills almost 1.4 million children per year, and that's more than measles, malaria, and AIDS combined. That's in India. Okay, diarrhea kills around 1,17,000 children under the age of 5, and because of that, there's a lot of whole other chronic diseases that kind of get affected. Underweight women give birth to underweight babies, and 39% of Indian children under the age of 5 were stunted because of this. That's because people do not understand or do not give enough importance to the fact that there is a fecal oral route That essentially means that if you don't wash your hands after using the toilet, or the sanitation is not kept, it's not maintained, it's essentially going to have affect your health, which is then going to lead to a whole lot of either diseases or in terms of affecting the longevity of life. These are just certain statistics to show you what is happening around the world. So we are talking about countries with the highest rates of open defecation. And if you see, India is in amongst one of them. So we have more than 40% kind of open defecation that happens in India. That's how. So we are where we are talking about. We talk about India's GDP and the fact that we have gone to moon, traveled space, but can't seem to be solving something that is rather simple in that sense, but which is rampant all over the country and is affecting public life to such a large extent. Now, if you see, of course, one of UN's sustainable goals by 2030 is to completely stop open defecation, and India is working towards it. But we have countries like Vietnam, which if you compare in so many other ways would fall short to India. But if you see, they went from 39% to almost zero. In means of eradicating open defecation. Of course, India has also improved in that sense. We've gone from 75% to 44%, but still it's still an uphill climb and a huge battle when it comes to open defecation in India. This is again just giving an idea of countries around the world and where India stands in the whole number game of open defecation. So it's not just the fact that we are talking about health and we are talking about sanitation and we are talking about unhygiene or whatever. We are talking about, let's talk about in terms of economics. All right, we keep talking about GDP and how India is progressing. Look at the amount of money that we are wasting away because the kind of impact inadequate sanitation is causing. Okay, right from health, which means that mortality rate increases, productivity lost, healthcare, to the fact that you might not have water, or instead you are using bottled water consumption, to the fact something as simple as the amount of time it takes if you do not have toilet facilities or clean toilet facilities within your home or close to your home or other establishments. The time that it will take for you to walk up to that place and come back again every time you have to use that toilet, that is also money lost, because essentially time is money. To the fact of where we are trying to say that there are countries which run on tourism, their economy survives on tourism, and India, having so much of cultural heritage around, can so easily bank on tourism, which we don't. We lose out on tourism earnings because of the fact that we have inadequate sanitation. And I was doing an online research during this presentation. It was very interesting of the kind of opinions people have when you're talking about tourism related opinions people have. So if you go and type open defecation in India or something like that, something related to those keywords, you will start seeing opinions of bloggers, people who've traveled, tourists from countries abroad who have traveled to India, and the kind of opinions that they have. And it's quite embarrassing, but it's to be very honest, it's quite true, because what they're talking about really does exist. So where we are talking about India's GDP at 833 billion, the total economic impact is 53.8. So we are losing out $53.8 billion, that's 6.4% equivalent to India's GDP, just because we have inadequate sanitation. And we are not talking about some technological advancement that doesn't exist in India. For us, it is largely a numbers game. Creating more awareness, educating people, educating right from children to that age to adults, to providing safe facilities for women, convenient facilities, public conveniences in areas where it is required the most. Something that's as simple and on a very, very, very basic level that is required, whether it is an urban population or rural for that matter, is something that we, even though we are having the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan that's been going on for 7 years, we are still to see, we've still to achieve this this huge number that is required to kind of, lessen the gap. However, there are certain interesting things that goes around when we talk about, awareness, and we're talking about initiatives taken to create more awareness and educate people about this sanitation, health, hygiene. So just to give you a few examples, we do have a Sulabh International Toilet Museum in New Delhi, where it talks about it's not just a museum because it wants to dedicate it to the history, but the fact that it's creating awareness of what personal hygiene and sanitation, and why it is important for not just personal health, but when it talks about health of the nation and whole. You do have other international examples, one of them being in Suwon, Korea. So this, again, the idea is the same, to create awareness about public, and the fact that you need to start talking about this and start discussing about this, and it's not a topic of taboo. We should not be it is very important when it comes to like I said, a personal as well as national health. So these are things that we need to talk about, we need to discuss, we need to create awareness, and we need to understand an importance of it within our society. So it's for students, the currently who are here, is it's not just about merely designing a toilet block. We relegate it to something that is not important, something that you do at the end of your design. Just make a cubicle and put it in a square, and that's about it. That's not what this all is about. So I'm hoping that this kind of encourages you to understand that it is something that really needs your attention, and it's a very important problem that is rampant, especially in India. Right, so that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for your kind attention. And I'll be taking any questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, thanks, Sanaya.
Yeah, that was a nice lecture.
Okay.
That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think there are some questions already up on the chat.
Okay.
Shravan has asked a question.
I can't see any. Can somebody just read it out to me? I can't see any
It
questions.
says, so since trains, at least most of the ones in India, don't use a water-based toilet, were all trains fitted with similar toilets before the WCs were popularized?
So in the beginning, trains, as in your train compartments, didn't even have toilets, all right? So this would essentially be on stations. And then, of course, they were segregated in terms of if it's in India or colonial countries, you would have whites and colored, ladies and gents, of course, and or otherwise the lower class or the so-called Indians that would travel, they would probably defecate outside. They wouldn't even have toilets. The stations would only have white toilets at that point in time. After later on, then you started getting toilets, and of course each of these compartments had, so first class will have its toilet and second class will have its toilet, and all of that. And then of course with the advancements of how engineering started coming, then you started getting water based toilets. So it is something that has kind of evolved over time, but we are still stuck as if we are like 50 years back. I mean, Indian Rails has come such a long way, and we pride ourselves. Just look at Mumbai. We pride ourselves on our rail network. Now we are seeing that the fact that rails were not been working, and Mumbai had kind of stood still. So we know how important trains are, but how many stations do they have public conveniences? How many stations have it at convenient locations? I know for sure, I've been to a lot of stations. They are either at the fag end, which is so scary to walk at night, okay, or they are in such bad conditions, they are broken down. So men can basically, they go and pee anywhere, but for women it's first of all, it's scary, it is not comfortable, it's not out in the open, it's unhygienic. There are a whole lot of complications that go with it. So it's very much required. So in fact, there is a campaign that is running in India, the right to pee. So kind of women barged into men's public toilets, because there are men's public toilets in most of the places, but women toilet are not that many in number. Women have to pay to use the facilities, whereas men don't have to pay to use those facilities. So even this is a present day problem in India itself. So there are a lot of issues as such associated with it, and hoping that with technology we kind of move forward, because there are so many innovations available with toilets nowadays. It's a big industry, it's a very, very big industry. But unfortunately in India we seem to have not kind of moved further.
So when we talk about like rail travel in the Middle Ages, for example, like when rail travel was first being like brought to
यार
India.
मिडिल एज में तो ट्रेन किधर से आई?
Sorry, not the Middle Ages, the Victorian era kind of that time. Like when the rail when like the whole American rail experiment at that time, because it was like a whole new thing. I think that they were building such a large railroad, or like the rail travel across Europe. So for those long journeys, was the only time you could actually relieve yourself was at a station and then at your destination.
That's right. You learn to hold. I told you, na, control is a virtue for women, apparently.
Okay.
So, so women would not travel if they were for a long distance.
Sarai, this is so interesting. Now, this virtue to hold, and it's so deeply ingrained in our society, and it's quite something now, because I remember growing up, we used to travel in a bus all the way from Ahmedabad to Pune or Nasik and things like that, and my mother could relieve herself only at one place, where there was a decent toilet, and it used to be a dramatic scene for us children who were with her, to watch her like that. And I see that same thing now coming to my daughter also. Like, this idea that you will have to learn to hold, or you have to be prepared to use the road. And it's quite terrible. Yeah, sorry, just.
No, but it's true. I mean, it's absolutely true, and I'm hoping that people understand why this is. It might sound as like what you can't hold. No, but when you can't hold, you can't hold.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Although I must say that in general there is an upward kind of improvement especially on the major highways. Some states are doing much better than the others. Like, for example, if you go to Rajasthan I think has done a very good job of actually elevating their status of quality of toilets, especially, and tourism plays a big role in that, because they are very aware of what kind of tourism they get, and so there are some states that are definitely doing better.
But the idea that, see what happens with tourism now, we think that we have to only provide for tourists. We keep forgetting that what about the locals? The locals की जो needs होती है. So even when these students are coming up with their design sites, I mean, my question is, किस area में तुम बांध रहे हो? क्योंकि public convenience use कौन करने वाला है? So, places where you might have a bus stand. Oh, perfect spot. Poor guy. All of them do is open out in the open. So, those spaces require, and then they don't just need to be constructed, but they need to be maintained. Otherwise, they will go into this complete dereliction, where again it's going to become, after a couple of months, it's going to be unusable in that sense.
Yeah.
This is not just restricted to road travel. Now, even in flights, you have the same issue, right? If it's a long flight, where does the flight take a stop, and then at that point you probably feel you want to finish using the loop before the flight stops here, because that a lot of Indians going to get onto the flight at that stop. So you even plan using the loop based on that. So it's not just about road travel and lower strata of society kind of condition. It even happens on flight.
Yeah, because we don't talk about it now. Toilets is, who talks about toilets? Like, not important, not something that you would want to discuss. It's an EU topic, basically, as
Right.
In fact, our day starts with that. Our morning starts with that. Is it not? It's the first thing that all of us do, and that is essentially how your day is going to go. Depend on your bowel habits. So it's very important. So students need to understand that this is something that is important on a larger scale, how it impacts. And I gave you the numbers, right? That's, just imagine, out of so many 100 million, 596 million open defecation is happening in India out of 996. That is a staggering amount. All right. Any other students? Any questions?
Sorry, while the students maybe ask questions, it's also interesting, there are different reasons for why, public toilets, even the number of public toilets is really restricted. Like, for instance, in India, we do criticize the number of public toilets, right? But, for instance, if you look at the Dutch cities, they really don't have a lot of public toilets, and to them, it's not a problem. Like, it's a cultural thing, right? So if you go to ask Dutch people, they'll still be like, okay, we're not sure where the next public toilet, because we don't really use their public toilets are very well maintained, but the social construct itself is such that you use the services at home. That's really not something that you need as much publicly. Whereas in India, it is very much a need, right? So even the society really kind of builds the need for different kinds of.
I think, Ankush, that has also got to do with the scale of the cities. You know, when we talk about our scale, when we talk about our 10 kilometers and we talk about their 10 kilometers, the difference is really, really vast. Plus, since there is no discrimination in that sense of social discrimination, you can use establishments within restaurants and stuff like that. Or, you know, other places where you can walk into easily even if you're not using those facilities. You know, you just want to use the toilet for that matter. So in that sense, there is, of course, like you said, it's how society is slightly different in that sense. But there are a lot of other aspects which then go from, you know, how Indians and how Europeans then look at. Like we are okay with we wouldn't mind queuing outside if we are traveling abroad. Oh, how well we will queue when we are standing outside there, right? And in India, when we come, we completely forget the idea of like queue. We don't know what that means. And it's the same people, right? It's the same people. I'm talking about the same people that travel abroad and in India. But in India, we come and we forget those practices. Okay. I was wondering if having a common toilet would be more dangerous or better for trans people, for example. All right. See, that would depend on your society. So largely what the Western society thinks that now they are going towards the idea of unisex toilets. So that means there shouldn't be discrimination between male and female, because for a very long time, the job market. So what happened with the suffrage movement? Everybody knows about the suffrage movement, right? That was the movement for women's to vote. All right. So along with that, it was not just that they were demanding for vote, the right to vote. They were also demanding for workplace equality. They were demanding. So for a very long time, what had happened was people would not hire women, saying that there are no women facilities available within our establishment. So I cannot provide separate women's toilet. Uska bahana deke, they used to not hire women. All right. Otherwise, I have to give a separate men's toilet, give a separate women's toilet. This was the excuse that were given by employers for a very long time. But afterwards, so then what started happening in terms of equality? They said, we will find no need for women's toilet. It's an equal opportunity. So men's and women's, it has to be unisex. Now, the idea of transgender discrimination is coming in because, you know, we're talking about sexual discrimination. So men are not comfortable with them entering their toilet. Women are not comfortable with them entering their toilet. So where do they go? You cannot have like a third gender toilet. That's not right. So the whole idea of schools, especially in America, are coming up with this idea of all sex toilets. So it doesn't matter whether you belong to the one sex, second sex, third sex, doesn't matter which sex. But everybody, to avoid the entire gender discrimination, now fits into the unisex toilets. That is what is happening socially there. We haven't quite gone above the idea of gents and women's toilet, because here it will not yet be acceptable. Few workplaces do have it. Like all the workplaces that I have worked in India have all had general toilets, unisex toilets, because, you know, we were talking about smaller establishments. But what happened in larger corporate settings when you have those numbers, you know? Because then when women go to the toilets, their habits, as opposed to when men go to toilets, their habits, and all of that kind of comes into play. So it's a little tricky when it comes to India. However, I've told you what's happening in the West right now. It's an interesting read about Japan's innovation in toilets and public opinion shaped about it. Yes, so in fact, Shirish shared that Japanese toilet thing, right? The public toilet near the bus. Maybe we should share it with the students. So you have a completely transparent public toilet on the footpaths, which then when it gets occupied becomes opaque. So the idea is to bring about this discussion that public toilets don't have to be dirty, don't have to be a dark, dingy corner, don't have to be unsafe, don't have to be a taboo topic for discussion. So the more you bring it out into the open, the more comfortable people are discussing it. So, you know, yes, Japanese innovation is very, very interesting in the way they start. So the idea is you educate, you make people aware, and you provide those facilities for them to be able to bring about that social experimentation then into the mainstream. I think the issue is letting certain people inside but keeping men outside. Sorry, I don't understand that comment, Fleur.
Oh no, that was me. I was just replying to Fleur's this thing about common toilets. Like the idea of like in India, it's also heavily about women's safety. So the general idea isn't like just like, oh, so and so people, like, who are we letting in? It's more that, like, it's always like it always becomes an issue of women's safety, and the issue of women's
Yes.
safety isn't women but men. Like, men are the issue in that case. So like, it's more
Yeah,
about
Shravan.
keeping men out.
Another topic.
Yes, Shravan,
Is actually
you are spot on. The issue of safety is a key when it comes to your public kind of conveniences and things like that. And our exploration should be what role does design have to play in creating safer kind of places. I mean, that's one of the underlying kind of intentions. Is this place safe? Does it have enough kind of eyes that look out for each other? Okay, and especially in community toilets in communities, this is a very important factor. Women will not use the toilet in certain times of the day, even when there is a set established kind of a toilet, unless the whole community works together as one. Yeah, unless there is an understanding that there are enough kind of ways in which you are mitigating the other challenges of safety. It's the same thing with women being out on the streets at a certain point of time also. It's very closely related with the idea of what is safe in our cities. Yeah, and it requires a different kind of a organization of communities to make it happen. But design does play a role. Design does play a small role, very small role in making that happen. You can find that.
Yeah, Shravan, to add to sorry,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Shravan.
to add to what Shravan was saying, see this idea about safety. No, you have to understand that is when you go to the toilet, right? You are putting yourself in a very vulnerable situation. Men and women, both obviously. But if you think about it from that perspective, no, men are more comfortable being in that vulnerable situation than women are. On in general, on the whole. And so if you even notice this one thing, like Shirish actually mentioned it, women will not go to the toilet at certain points of the day, especially when, in the case of like, for example, if you have public toilets in these informal settlements, women have a very specific time of day when they will probably use the facilities. They will not go after dark. They will not go before sunrise, or maybe sometimes they will go before sunrise, but in a group, and then they will come back. So they have these kind of things. So in the case of in such a situation, okay, when you talk about a unisex toilet, okay, it would, and if you have a unisex toilet and women don't feel safe sharing a toilet with men, it essentially makes a case that women don't have a toilet to use. Okay, so so yeah, like Sanaya said, it's a lot about culture. It has a lot to do with society, the way it functions, and it might work in certain situations, it might not work in other situations. So that's, I think, but I think it lies beyond the realm of design alone. Okay, it goes beyond that. It goes into how we or how people feel about each other, in terms of men feeling about women and women feeling about men, and how comfortable they are sharing such kind of facilities.
Yeah, but the
Another,
idea is to encourage you for experimentation. Go
Yeah.
ahead. Don't think of this as, don't think services are the last thing that you think in design.
yeah,
Like मेरी building दिखनी ऐसी चाहिए, पर मतलब अंदर
guys, one
कुछ
one
ना.
thing one thing that happened in our discussion today is I realized that a lot of the times when we are entering into the project, we are thinking that I want my building to be like this. Okay, I think this is one project where you have to leave that eye out first. Okay, and you have to think about what it is that the public would need. Okay, and all these are questions of the needs of public right now. Yeah, and the idea of the public also, and that is why we have insisted that it is universal access kind of a place. And by universal access, we don't only mean the handicap, but we in our ideal kind of utopian I mean modern sense, we also mean universal, meaning it should be accessible to transgender people, it should be accessible to people of different communities, races, ages, etc., etc. Yeah, so that's the dream of this tiny project. Okay, we should try and hold on to some of the kind of ideals. so that we are able to create an experiment which is relatively successful, I feel.
Go ahead and visit some public conveniences, go ahead and see how they are, what they require, कैसे खड़े रहना पड़ता है.
A lot of the community toilets that I've seen in communities here and elsewhere also, if you go to Orissa, if you go to Madhya Pradesh, a lot of them are a toilet which is like a sulab, meaning a public toilet, and there is a caretaker's family that stays above. Okay, so there is actually a family that is living above, that is taking care. Family meaning wife, children, uncle, everyone, like a complete family that lives above and is actually responsible for taking care. It's been understood in some places as a easier way of mitigating challenges of safety. Okay, to actually have the entire family there and not only a particular group which is assigned to taking care of the toilet. Yeah, so that's another way in which we have tried.
Adesh has his hand raised.
Yeah, Adesh.
या तो एक्चुअली एक कमेंट है. एक्चुअली जब महाराष्ट्र में जब सुलभ शौचालय का जो स्कीम आया था, तब क्या होता, हर गांव में हर एक घर को एक टॉयलेट बना के दिया था. तब एक्चुअली उस टाइम 1.41 मिलियन टॉयलेट तो बन गए, लेकिन उसमें से सब जस्ट इमेजिन करो कि 10 में से दो टॉयलेट है, उसका यूज गोडाउन के लिए यूज किया गया. तो एक्चुअली टॉयलेट जस्ट बनाना चैलेंज नहीं, लेकिन उसको मतलब जस्ट इमेजिन करो, उनके पहले किसी ने टॉयलेट यूज नहीं किया, हमने उनको टॉयलेट बना के दिया, एक टॉयलेट मतलब प्राइवेट टॉयलेट हर घर को एक दिया. तो एक्चुअली वो टॉयलेट को यूज वो करेंगे, वो भी हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है कि जस्ट ऐसा नहीं कि टॉयलेट या और ऐसा भी है अभी, हाँ, कि ऐसे भी अभी लोग हैं कि हर घर को महाराष्ट्र में टॉयलेट तो दिया है, लेकिन एक्चुअली वो यूज नहीं करते, वो बाहर जाते हैं.
I have been to communities in Orissa, in cities by the way, not even in the rural areas, where they have been given a complete house with a kitchen and a toilet. The toilet, like you're saying, is used as a place to store things. Okay, the cooking happens outside the house. Okay, because of the way the entire cooking is still happening. I mean, they don't have there are taboos of using electricity and gas, for example. Okay, they're afraid of using gas. They are more comfortable using firewood. Okay, so you will find that kitchen ke andar platform ke upar firewood is stored. Okay, the cooking actually happens outside the house on their otla. Okay, with firewood. So you're right that it is not only about the provision of that infrastructure or facility. It is also about how we are able to shift from a particular kind of system of doing things, and that has a role to play, and that is why the word actually is reform. Okay, so it's not that word is very important. Reform is a word that has a complete shift of your processes. Okay, and that requires many other things to happen.
So Adesh, sorry.
Go ahead, Shantanu, please.
Yeah. So Adesh, तू जो बोल रहा है ना, उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा अभी ऐड करूंगा एक चीज उसको. मुंबई में ना 1915 में एक सारस्वत कॉलोनी बनी थी. ओके, एंड इट वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम कि जब ये घर के अंदर टॉयलेट दिया था. अदरवाइज उसके पहले क्या हमेशा टॉयलेट घर के बाहर रहते थे, कॉमन टॉयलेट्स. ओके, और उसके पीछे, और ऐसा नहीं है कि मतलब किसी को ऐसा आइडिया नहीं है कि घर के अंदर टॉयलेट बनाने का, लेकिन क्या है ना, अपना एक ऐसा ये रहता है कि टॉयलेट घर के अंदर, ओह माय गॉड, नॉट पॉसिबल. मतलब समझ गया ना, वो टाइम पे ये थिंकिंग था, अनथिंकेबल. गांव में भी देखेंगे घर के अंदर टॉयलेट घर के बाहर होते हैं, या फिर या तो बैकयार्ड में रहते या फ्रंट, या पुणे में तो फ्रंट यार्ड में रहते थे, आउट हाउसेस. इनफैक्ट पुणे में घर के फ्रंट में टॉयलेट रहते थे. ओके, लाइक फेसिंग द, लाइक उसका पीठ ऐसा स्ट्रीट की तरफ. वो क्यों? क्योंकि वो सब मैला साफ करने को जो लोग आते थे ना, तो वो बाहर के बाहर मैला साफ करके लेके जाएंगे, उनको घर के अंदर नहीं आने देने का. ओके, तो सारस्वत कॉलोनी का तू घर का प्लान देखेगा ना, तो उसके अंदर भी वो टॉयलेट दिया घर के अंदर है, लेकिन ऐसा डर के दिया है, समझा? मतलब उसको पूरा बाहर से अलग एंट्री है वो टॉयलेट्स को, ताकि जो साफ करने वाले लोग हैं वो घर के ज्यादा अंदर नहीं आए, बाहर के बाहर आए, टॉयलेट साफ करके.
That was the class discrimination that we had, na? So the Shudras would clean the toilets at that point in time. So they would have a separate entry. They will not go inside the house where there is kitchen and people live and all of those areas. So you would have had, if they were attached to the house, it had a separate entrance.
Exactly. तो इवन इफ अगर मैं बोलूंगा कि घर के अंदर, अभी तो अपने बेडरूम में टॉयलेट खुद के रहते हैं, बट अगर मैं ऐसे बोलूंगा कि घर के अंदर टॉयलेट बनाना है तो खुद का टॉयलेट साफ करने का आइडिया से लेके ही शुरुआत हो जाती है। अरे खुद का टॉयलेट खुद कैसे साफ करने का, ये गंदा काम हम लोग नहीं करेंगे, ये कोई बाहर का करेगा। और अगर बाहर का करेगा तो उसके लिए घर के अंदर टॉयलेट नहीं हो सकता, उसको घर के अंदर नहीं लेके आ सकते किचन के थ्रू या किधर भी। यू गेट योर गेटिंग। तो ये बहुत सारी चीजें है, अदरवाइज कौन सोचेगा ना कि ऐसा ये ज्यादा अच्छा है बाहर जाना और ओपन में डेफिकेशन करना। ओपन में डेफिकेशन करने का फैसिलिटी क्या है, कुछ साफ नहीं करना पड़ता, सब अपने आप नेचर में हो जाता है, राइट? दैट्स नॉट योर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। घर के अंदर
Yeah,
टॉयलेट
so
कोई
to,
रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है।
so to tell you how ancient I am is that in the early 1970s, in the early 1970s हमें भी यही करना पड़ता था गांव में। 2 ईंट लेके जाते थे हम लोग और कहीं प्लॉट में कॉर्नर में बैठ जाते थे, and there were pigs there waiting to breakfast on you, so on your way. So just to give an idea, and we also had what we called as night carriers at that time. So in my mother's native place, we had this hole in the floor of the bathroom, and you have a tin box which is under it at a distance, into which you poop, and then at night you have, like Sanaya rightly said, you have these people from the lower castes who come and pick that tin away and clean it for you for the morning. So that was the way that it happened even in the 1970s. So it's not too long ago actually. So we still have that kind of system.
Next time we can do history of Mamta.
I think like all of these things you just brought up now, they're all really essentially conversations also of how we should start thinking of how we manage this waste also now. So much of our social stratification has happened because there is a need for people to be dealing with this waste in a certain way. I mean, like Sanaya's presentation had one of those drawings where it was a section of how the poop was being cleared, right? There was still a certain small amount of dignity because there was a rake involved and then you were doing that. In Jaipur, the poop lands on a platform. It doesn't land niche, right? It lands on a platform so that the person who's clearing it is not using a rake to or a scoop to take up the poop and put it in his cart. He's literally using his hands to pull that poop into a basket. So the way you deal with it is also like, this was almost cruel.
Human scavengers, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, even why you're talking about Jaipur? Take for Mumbai, is RB have to clean up the sewer lines. People have to go inside the sewers. Can you imagine in today's day and age? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's also important to start to think of, now there are places where you absolutely don't have manual sewage cleaning and all of that, and it's become law. So you need to also start thinking about how your piping systems and how your connections to the city lines make sure that you don't clog in the first place. And secondly, if you do, it's spaced out enough that it can be cleaned through automated mechanisms. You don't have crevices and corners and things like that. So I think that also is something we really should be looking at in the studio, since there is such a strong sanitation component to it.
Shravan has something to say.
So I think when we're kind of looking at society in terms of why like toilets are still such a big issue in the country, we have to look at the main reason of who has to manage them and who has to kind of who really needs them. Because for the management, like upper caste people won't really care about it because it's relegated to low caste if there's any human element required. And even the people who need it are mainly women, who are again like two marginalized groups in this country. Because like for example, if you look at men, like I can walking home from site only the other day, like in the dark you see like 3 people urinating in the bushes. For men, it's not really an issue to require public toilets. So even then, it's like, okay, so if men don't really need it, like, is there really going to be a push to do it? And if, upper caste men don't have to manage it, is there really going to be a push to, like, improve sanitization?
No, the idea is that peeing in open is also not acceptable. Na? ऐसा नहीं है कि just because they can do it, it is okay and it is convenient for them. The idea is that this whole open defecation is a problem. We need to understand that. And that has to be stopped both cases. It's just that it's more difficult for women because there are other aspects that are involved when it comes to women using certain facilities. That is why you need to pay more attention to those ideas. That's about it.
Yeah.
The problem is not gender based. The idea is that it's happening because even men, when men also poop, they're also pooping out in the open. There's no discrimination between men poop and women poop, right? They're all pooping out. Open defecation is open. We are not reaching 596 because all women are pooping outside.
Yeah, but right? The idea still remains that the comfort, like the bigger kind of issue is that like who really, like men will use the toilet if it's available, but at the same time it's not available. Like men are more open to open defecation than compared to women, so they won't really push for like a different solution, and that different solution is what kind of solves the issue of open defecation as well.
No, I think it starts with the idea of educating and awareness that it is an important issue. It needs to be dealt with at a grassroots level, not just creating a national policy for it. That's not the way how it's going to get solved. You need to get community involved. You need to make them understand why this is important. You need to catch them young. That is why they started doing this in schools and everywhere, because if you get those habits from schools, then hopefully those habits will continue at home. That's the whole idea, right? Because they've been taught in school. So it's you need to start more sensitizing people towards this issue, and then of course you do need the infrastructure to support it.
Yes, definitely. And from a healthcare point of view, it's what do you call it's not a divisive issue in terms of like the healthcare side of like public sanitation. Yeah, that's the still like both. Yeah, for both genders, it's still an issue in terms of the health effects there.
So Ruheen has a question in the chat box about DCRs and actually assigning areas for these kind of facilities. Do you want to take that?
No, I don't think there is, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, there are areas for public facilities.
Public facility, yeah.
Public facilities, but alag se aise public
Not
toilet
particularly for
jaisa kuch
It's also very interesting. So then it's about the machinery itself deciding what is priority as public function.
what is, yes, what is public facility, yes, और किसको ज़्यादा importance देना चाहिए, बराबर है. Go ahead, Shyam.
जो अभी आदेश ने बोला मैं उसमें थोड़ा ऐड करना चाहता हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट ने जब सब लोगों को टॉयलेट्स दिए ना, तो मेरे ख्याल से उन्होंने एज अ सर्विस प्रोवाइड किया, पर उनका कंपटीशन एज अ सर्विस नहीं था, वो एज अ स्पेस था कि लोग अगर खुले में जा रहे तो दूर दूर तक कुछ नहीं है या हवा बह रही है, ऐसा सीन था. और आप उनको 1.5 बाय 1.5 मीटर ज्यादा से ज्यादा का टॉयलेट दे रहे, उसमें एक भी विंडो नहीं है, तो वो आपका टॉयलेट उस स्पेस के साथ कैसे कॉम्पीट कर पाएगा. मतलब जब गवर्नमेंट प्रोवाइड करता है टॉयलेट, तो उन्हें एज अ स्पेस भी सोचना चाहिए, ना कि सिर्फ सर्विस.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. That is why it's important that you design the toilet, which it's see, why is it called a public convenience? Okay, there are a lot of aspects of when you, like how we discussed in the group today, what is well-being and what all aspects come into a well-being. Us hisab se you will give activity related to it, right? So what do you mean by when you're saying that you're going to relieve yourself, and what all it requires? If as a designer you cannot think of it, how is somebody else going to construct it? Right? That is why I'm saying go to a public toilet. Understand the difference between men using a public toilet and women using a public toilet. You will see the nuances change, and that is how your design needs to incorporate. Like we discussed in the group, women need somewhere where you need to hook a purse or a bag or something like that, right? Women will need a full length mirror because they are wearing saris. Just imagine after you go to the toilet, you were wearing a sari, you have to lift up the entire sari, and then to make sure that it's all properly draped before you step out, right? So you need things like that, smaller things. You will need a platform because women need to keep their things on the platform. Men don't in a toilet. So these things, these nuances, the way you use the space determines how you design the space and what is the requirement. And then when it is not provided, that is when the design is failing. And that is why they are not going to use the space then. And like you said, ventilation is very important. The whole idea of innovation of toilets was, others, what was wrong of pooping in a bowl and then throwing it out? It is, first of all, of course, managing it. And the second was the smell. How do you deal with foul smell? So that is the whole S-trap coming into picture, right? That's the innovation that we've learned now, right? With technology, that how do you deal with all the problems that arise from this? So then if you going to, like you rightly said, कहाँ हम खुले में ऐसे मस्त बगीचे में जाते हैं, बल्कि उसके बदले you given them a 2 by 2 foot का room कुछ दे दिया है और उसमें window भी नहीं है. You rightly said. That is why you need to design it appropriately. All right, I think we should call it a day.
Yeah, we still have
Yes.
group left. Have you guys all finished your group discussions?
Yes.
I have, yes.
But that's because there were 3 students who didn't turn up. So I could wrap up earlier. I'm hoping they can send it over.
Anybody wants to take over?
No, I think we're done.
Okay.
All the
Yeah, with very interesting presentations, Anaya. Thanks.
Thank you.
A lot of things we came to know today. There are so many things that go neglected. I mean, this lecture brought up all these discussions, which is very important.
Right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
See you Monday. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.